Welcome to HeroQuest fans. So we are not live. Instead, I'm just recording this video just talking about all the things that happened over the Thanksgiving holiday that I missed out on. It was funny. I saw so many comments from people saying, "Oh man, Kurgan's going to blow a gasket when he gets back. Man, he's going to freak out. Oh, he's going to go nuts. He's going to go insane." Well, didn't happen. I was too distracted with other things, but it was good Thanksgiving. I hope other people did too. Hope you're all doing well. Hope nobody got mowed down during any crazy Black Friday stuff. Actually, this year it seemed like things were pretty subdued. And actually, Avalon Hill was making some jokes on their own page about the fact that they have these sales trying to make all kinds of money at these retail stores, and they'll give you discounts, but they're like really small discounts or like no discount at all. And then, people do all that nonsense. And then there's Cyber Monday. And when the real deals come, and then they extend it out for a whole month. And then the real deals happen the day after Christmas. So it's all kind of goofy and, first world problems kind of stuff. So anyway, try not to take that too seriously. But I did have to laugh at the stuff they were doing. So let me just show some of the things that we had going on. And I know other people covered this. I'm late to the party. Malgamash has already done it on Ash Quest, and Dungeon Master, always bored, never boring. All the people that you think of when you think of Hero Quest on YouTube have covered all this stuff in great detail. So kudos to them. Check them out. Rate, comment, like, subscribe. Hit them up on Patreon. Follow. Ring the bell for notifications. Do all that stuff to support your local Hero Quest people. But anyway, all that aside, I'm gonna give my little take on things too. So this was the image that Avalon Bill posted, which I saw smaller versions of it appearing on Twitter, on X. So it used to be that you didn't have to be a member of Twitter and you could actually read people's tweets. Now you have to be a member and you have to be signed in. So as always with HeroQuest news, views, I mean I express a lot of views, but the news and the rumors, I rely on you, the fans, the public, the cool people to like bring me the information, whether it comes from Instagram or X or Reddit or the dark corners of the internet, some uh, back Discord room, whatever, wherever you can get it. So anyway, Avalon Bill shared this. This was a joke, obviously. Um, with the HeroQuest remake of 2021, there was no armory board. It was just an equipment deck, which a lot of people were saying, "Oh, this is so much better because." With the 1990 version, you had this menu to choose from, but it's nice to just be able to have a nice deck of cards. If you want to add equipment and expansions, you just add the cards. You don't have to reprint the board even bigger with even more stuff on it. It's never complete. What are you going to have, like Velcro or, something like that? And, they had a point. Also, they were saying how, well, just like in the European version, a lot of people like to have the card sitting at their spot. They like to have, okay, I've got the broadsword, so I've got the broadsword card, and I've got the shield card because I've got a shield, and I've got the staff card because I've got a staff, and I got that nice pile. And then the next person might have a shield as well, and they want to have their shield card, and they want to have their, plate mail card. And it's like, all right. At the same time, there is definitely a benefit of having an armory board in the HeroQuest game because it's like a menu. It's so easy to just look around and you could see, okay, here's all the stuff you can buy. Here's the descriptions. I'll want this, that, and this other thing, and I can just write it down on my character sheet, which is what you're supposed to do. Now, let's keep in mind the development of HeroQuest. The original game, 1989, the character sheet looked like this. See that? That is the original HeroQuest character sheet. And I have the 1989 edition, the first edition that was released not just in the UK, but all over Europe, um, and was the basis for many other versions. Anyway, look at that. So you've got your body and your mind, just a big box for those. Your name, your character, of course. And then the tasks completed where you write your quests. Obviously, the newer character sheet, they put in grid boxes for that. Or no, grid boxes for the body and mind, and then instead of tasks completed, they had like a list, a numerical list where you circle them. The problem with that is after you go past the original 14, it's not always going to be the same. But look how much room is taken up by this crest here. And I like this idea because, okay, so you got a bunch of 9-year-olds sitting at the table and they're just doodling, you know, customizing this crest or coat of arms, with this motto in between their turn. Oh, it's my turn. Oh, okay. But see, they're relying on cards to cover all their equipment. Okay. And the other thing about the European version of HeroQuest, the original rules, is okay, you're using cards, so you're not writing your equipment down on the page. And also, it is heavily emphasized that in the first edition and in the second edition, you every card that you have in the equipment deck, that's the stock of that item. So if there's 2 shields, then there's only 2 shields ever to buy. So if they're already bought in the party, no one else can have them. So you have the card. You have the shield card until your character dies and somebody else gets it. Now, when the Adventure Design Kit was released, only in Europe, ADK, some of them call it, fans call it, the Adventure Design Kit featured a new character sheet where they gave a new way of doing it. And actually, I think they gave you more room and it was better organized. Now, this character sheet that you see before you is about the same size as the North American character sheet. And the remake character sheet is based on the North American character sheet, just scaled up just a little bit. So I want to show you how this goes. And believe me, I do have a point. I'm getting to a conclusion with this. So let's take a quick look at the Adventure Design Kit instruction, character sheet. Okay, so the new character sheet has several new features: a treasure space that allows you to keep track of how much gold you have, an equipment space that allows you to make note of any equipment your character owns. This also allows you to buy pieces of equipment for which there are no spare cards by simply paying the existing cost and noting them down. That's something North American players already do. The Shield of Honor space in the bottom corner is for character players. That's what they call heroes, character players, who become champions of the realm, as detailed in the HeroQuest rulebook. A player who becomes a champion may take a Shield of Honor sticker and put it in this blank shield. So that was kind of a cool thing. So there you go. And that's 1992. Or 19. No, excuse me, 1990. For some reason, I was thinking 1992. I guess I must have that date on the brain. That's when Wizards of Morcar comes out. But yeah, 1990. So the same year that the second edition was released of HeroQuest in Europe, they already had this idea that, okay, here's your character sheet. And this is not quite 8.5 by 11, but it's much larger. It's almost a full sheet. And it would have been actually with red ink originally. But take a look at it. So it's organized differently. So now you're dealing with actually writing down the equipment and so on. I don't know why I'm belaboring the point. And actually, I printed this out and I've been using that for the latest adventures, like a full 8.5 by 11 for each character, and it works really well. The only thing it's missing is it doesn't have a body, it doesn't have a attack and defend dice on here. It has body and mind. That takes up way too much room. So you can kind of like make a line there or make a box there and put your attack and defend dice pretty easily. And with tasks completed, you could put numbers, maybe the name of the quest expansion, and then just like quest 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, if you wanted. Or you could put the actual name, because not every hero is necessarily going to play every single quest. But yeah, that's the Adventure Design Kit. So would I like to see this actually released officially in remake form? Sure, that'd be awesome. It's just a little like tutorial book on how to write your own quests, and it comes with some stickers that you can apply, which nobody really does. I mean, most people, even the designers, which we can see from the 1992 notes, just drew, they draw a rectangle and they write the word table on it, or they draw a little skull and call that a skeleton. That's what they do. But stickers are fun. Kids like stickers. Anyway, so going from that, the European version, so using the Adventure Design Kit, I don't know how many people bought it and used that as the rule. Like going from you have to have a card to be able to use it to anybody can, as long as you pay the gold, you can buy it. So your friends got the shield. Oh, how much is it? 150? Okay, I want one too. All right, write it down on your character sheet. Done. There's that advantage of you don't have to worry about the cards. Think about it. If you're going to buy stuff at the armory in between quests, so you're like, okay, well, hand me the deck of cards. So now I'm flipping through all the cards, going, what do I want? What do I want? Wait, the card's gone. Oh, somebody has it. Show me that card that you've got. Okay, how much is it? All right. Okay, so you've got that item. That's what I want. It's much easier, I think, to just be able to look at this nice menu and pick out what you want. And yes, they joked by giving tiny discounts on all the things. But I was telling Avalon Bill, and I wasn't the first person that said it. I think Ribby actually got in ahead of me and was just like, hey, can we just have like a high quality version without the jokes of this armory? I mean, we kind of like it. I mean, that wooden sword looks kind of goofy, but in the center, it's a new piece of artwork. And all the equipment is here. Because when you think about Rise of the Dread Moon is the first expansion that I think actually limits you in what you can buy. It says you can buy anything from the armory between quests or at the underground market. You can buy anything from the armory included in the game system. So that means any equipment that was added later, you don't get to buy, except for what they specify, the smoke bombs or the reagent kit or the caltrops. But you think about it, I mean, Spirit Queen's Torment includes the Bard, and the Bard hero has the Rapier. He could buy a Rapier here. The Warlock in Prophecy of Telor has the Wand, which you could buy. Those are equipment. And then all of the alchemist shops for all the expansions are considered equipment. All those potions are considered equipment, so you can buy them here. So those potions of dexterity and you know potions of magic or whatever, all those different ones, venom antidote, um, potion of battle rage, potion of speed, the elven version, all those different ones, those are considered equipment. So I mean your deck just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and yet oh, the other issue you have is as the quests go on, think of a long sprawling campaign like Mage of the Mirror or Frozen Horror. You're going to have people with like dozens of potions. And if you're trying to get a card for every single one of those, it's just going to be ridiculous. You're going to have piles and piles of cards in front of each character. Even the barbarian is going to be just drowning in cards. And yes, it's true. If you don't print out copies of every single card, you're just going to be limited to what you have in the box. So that means every expansion has 4 alchemist shop potions and then maybe a couple other equipment cards that you're going to add. But it starts to add up and it starts to get unwieldy. So rather than fighting over the cards, I think yeah, they had a good idea going, but at the same time, I like the menu, and you could print out copies of the menu much easier than you can print, dozens of copies of cards and have them actually be high quality cards, like with linen finish and all that stuff on them. So I think it's a great idea. I think they should release it. I think they should have released it from the beginning. And for a long time, I was thinking about doing it. I just never got around to it. I was going to just very similar to what they did here. Actually, I was going to do it like the Alchemist shop and just have like, just an image of each of the cards, just kind of shrunk down, just in a, you know, uh, collage like this. But anyway, so that was kind of a funny thing. They also had jokes. I'm not going to show them all, but they showed each of the free quests, the free digital quests with the word free stamped on it. So it's like it's really free. Yeah, it's totally free. Except they didn't list Rogar's Hall, and somebody mentioned that. So I'm glad people are still talking about Rogar's Hall. I think we should keep pressing them to release it in the companion app, not just buried in the website. You got to dig for it, in the archives to try to find it. It's like no, it should be up there with Into the Northlands and all the rest. So Stephen Baker, I mean, it wasn't his greatest quest, but again, I think Rogar's Hall can be a good adventure if you don't think of it as an alternative first quest. I think if you think of it that way, as an alternative first quest, a training quest, which he did write training quest on it, I think most people are gonna just hate it. because it's going to crush them and destroy them. And if they're new to the game and they're not fully invested yet, they might not want to play it again, especially if they're a little kid who's still learning about, being a uh, not being a sore loser, for games. So there's that. But in the text that Stephen Baker wrote introducing Rogar's Hall, he says it's the challenge for the greatest heroes. Well, there you go. So instead of using basic heroes with basic entry level equipment, use the powerful heroes that you've got from whatever, from beating the Frozen Horror or whatever. Throw them in there and see if they can do it. Because yes, you can modify the quest. It's just that the number of monsters that you face in it are maybe equivalent to 2 or 3 quests, so it's pretty tough. And yes, he does have mechanics in there like Mentor is actually in the quest, which is something you never see otherwise. Just so you could use the miniature, but you could use the Chaos Warlock, the Dread Sorcerer to represent him. He uses the healing spell automatically to heal a hero if he dies, like anywhere. But I think he might have forgotten, or maybe they hadn't decided yet at that time, that the potions of healing, you have to roll 1d6. So you might only get 1 body point back instead of 6. So that's kind of a question because the original version, the European version of HeroQuest, the potions of healing in the treasure deck give you 4 back. So he might have still been thinking along those lines. In fact, there's actually an image of the potion of healing in the HasLab campaign website, and it shows 4. So I think maybe he wrote the quest thinking it was going to be 4, but I mean, you can debate about that. But in the original version of HeroQuest, there was only 2 potions of healing, which were 4 body points each in the treasure deck. In the North American version that the remake is based on, there's 3 potions of healing, and they're all 1d6. Now, even with those 3 healing potions, you've still got Water of Healing and Heal Body. So those are 4 each. So in a sense, you still have them, but anyway. But yeah, I think Rogar's Hall is perfectly playable. I'd like to play it on one of these streams. And yes, we are coming back to these live game streams on HeroQuest Fans this weekend. If all goes well, Friday and Saturday, we'll be doing Rise of the Dread Moon on Saturday and Mage of the Mirror on Friday, usual times. So Friday it'll be 2 to 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. Or I guess we're on Central Daylight Time now, I think. Or it's the opposite. Yeah, but anyway, yes, 2 to 4. We can go longer if people want to. And on Saturday, 6 to 10 p.m. Hard stop at 10 because I got stuff in the morning next day. But anyway, yeah, so that's what we'll do. We'll be back. We took a bit of a hiatus. I'm looking forward to coming back. But anyway, yeah, so other news. So there was this armory thing. And I did want to point out just one other thing. Actually, well, as long as we're talking about it, about the differences between the European and the North American version, which they seem to be bringing back little bits and pieces of each version as time goes on, realizing the wisdom of some of those variations. So we see why the character sheet and the cards did what they did in the original version and why it started to change through the different versions. The treasure deck in the original version of HeroQuest from 1989, the first edition, after you found a treasure, you were supposed to put that card back into the deck. Yes, that's right. You were supposed to put it back into the deck and shuffle it. So you could find the same treasure multiple times in the same quest, potentially. Now, think about it though. In the European rules, each room only gets to be searched 1 time. So if there's a note saying, okay, you found this treasure, that's what you find. If it's an unmarked room, then it's going to be drawing a card. So there's less opportunities to get cards. So it wasn't such a big deal, I guess, if you got the same card. You might not get through all the cards in a quest. Some of these smaller quests, you don't have that many rooms. The second edition was different because they actually did say that you would discard cards. But actually, you know what? I'm going to check. I'm not going to trust my memory on this. Hold on. Okay, here we go. So this is the first or second edition. I have the first edition. I have the North American version. I don't have a copy of the second edition, so I'm relying on a scan. Sorry. So it says second edition. Treasure cards. Some of the treasures cards are of gold or jewels. The character player, hero, who finds one of these should record the value of the treasures on his character sheet. The card is then discarded. Okay, so now you're discarding. It is not returned to the treasure card pile. Other treasure cards show traps or wandering monsters. These cards should be read out and the instructions followed immediately. Trap cards and wandering monster cards are returned to the treasure card pile. The treasure card pile is then shuffled before another treasure card is taken. See that? Now what it doesn't say is it talks about gold or jewels. What about a gem? Well, you think, okay, treasure, it's a gem, it probably is included in that. What about the nothing card? What about the uh, potions? What about the holy water? What about those? So I can just take a quick look at the cards here to check, because not everything is recorded in the rules. Some things are recorded in the quest notes, some things are recorded on the cards themselves. Okay, again, this is the second edition. So yes, these items are discarded once they're used. Now, the other thing to keep in mind about these European versions is once the quest is over, any of the treasure cards that you are holding onto need to go back into the deck. So if you didn't use the holy water or the heroic brew or whatever, sorry, you use it or lose it. You don't get to sell it back or hang on to it for quest after quest like you can in the North American version. So yeah, that's how it goes. So because of that, you're not going to have to worry about the treasure deck. I don't know, not having enough cards. You're not going to have to worry about having just an accumulation of things. So if you had 10 potions of healing, you don't have 10 cards in front of you. Now, the North American version, you can stockpile these items. So they call it Potion Hoarder Edition. So it's more important in the North American version to have more room to write down your stuff because you're going to build up potentially lots more items. So that's why having a big, well-organized character sheet is important. But I think if they were to reintroduce this adventure design kit, that would be a nice thing to have, that new character sheet. All right, so let's get back to our news and rumors. So Hispa Zargon has been doing a lot of great work lately, posting about this stuff. And he keeps posting about this YouTube channel, which I've talked about before on HeroQuest fans, La Guardia de Morcar. And since my Spanish pronunciation is horrible, I'm probably not saying that very well. But this guy who runs it, Cristobal, you'll remember him with his epic beard and his awesome intro, his cool personality and his hat. He's done recordings of games. He does a lot of rumor mongering, and you could say, oh come on, he's just spreading spinning wild tales about things in the HeroQuest world. Well, he's been right about some of those things, and there's people out there, not just him. Nightbird, Icarith, he seems to know some things before they happen. So the question is, who out there has a copy of Lore Tome? What's happening? I mean, I don't have any special insight to this stuff. I might have heard a few things early on, but I definitely am just playing catch up when it comes to this stuff. So I don't know what's true and what's not, but some things do have more support with evidence. But let's read what Hispa Zargon is saying. And of course, this was several days ago that he posted this on the 25th. And this is on Ye Olde Inn forums. So yeah, he points to the video revealing lots of leaks of the next release of HeroQuest products. The video is in Spanish. So I've summarized the most relevant leaks in the following two new threads. So the Jungles of Delthrak is the new expansion topic. So the Jungles of Delthrak is what we've been hearing about, this Abomination quest pack. So it's some type of expansion. Um, what we know about it so far is it's supposed to be Q3 2024. Price point similar to the big quest packs like Mage of the Mirror. Something about abominations, but Cristobal in the video does say a little bit more. So if his source is reliable, maybe some of this stuff will come to be. Wizards of Zargon, I call it Wizards of Morkar. That's what the original pack was called. So that's coming out. He says 2025, but I haven't watched the entire video, and I'm about to do that with the subtitles on so that you can see. So he also mentions the following. This is again Hispazargon talking about Cristobal's video. The Crypt of Perpetual Darkness retail release will be Q3 of 2024. Interesting. This is after we were told, well, maybe it'll happen. Then we were told, no, it definitely won't happen. Maybe it will. I think a lot of people are hoping it will. So who knows? I mean, do I want that to happen? Yes. Now that we've seen Spirit Queen's Torment and Prophecy of Telor, how they were re-released with the, translucent colored plastic and the extra dice and, piecemeal like that with the holographic shiny foil on the covers. Would they do that same thing to his pack? I mean, it stands to reason. What color would the figures be? I don't know. Purple, blue, could be anything, right? There doesn't seem to be any necessarily set pattern. Like they always seem to want to try to surprise us with stuff. But could they follow the same thing? Sure, it's reasonable to think that. And it would be nice, yes, with the goal of all the mythic exclusive stuff from the HasLab campaign eventually coming out. Now, if the Crypt of Perpetual Darkness was proprietary, does that mean now that we're going to get a Sir Ragnar figure and a Witch Lord figure? He doesn't say. Does that mean we're going to get the female heroes? He's saying yes. Well, actually, Hispazargon is guessing the female heroes from the Mythic tier. Now, I did hear a lot of speculation from other fans who are not necessarily part of this guy's channel. They were saying, well, you had the 4 alternate heroes released with the crowd-funded HasLab campaign box. Everybody who got the heroic tier and the mythic tier got an extra box that had a female elf, a female wizard, a male elf, a female wizard, a female barbarian, female dwarf. Because the default elf in the box was female now. Like everybody got it, even though the original was male. So they switched it. But then people were this is the logic that people were using. They were saying, well, with the remake version of the Barbarian Quest pack, Frozen Horror, we got a brand new sculpt of a female barbarian, right? So check that one off. You've got a male barbarian, female barbarian. Done. Okay, and then in the Elf Quest pack, Mage of the Mirror remake, they gave us a new sculpt of a male elf. So check that one off. So now all that's left are the dwarf and the wizard. So rather than giving us the exact figure that people got with the crowdfunded version, the HasLab version from 2021, they're going to find a way to just give us a female dwarf, like a brand new sculpt, and a female wizard. And what would the logical way to do this? Well, we know Against the Ogre Horde is coming out in March. The remake of Against the Ogre Horde is going to be a big box. It's going to have extra stuff in it, total of 10 quests. And Cristobal's videos, previously he had mentioned, maybe some extra furniture this time, stuff like that. Well, people were saying, well, what they could do is just put the female dwarf in the box and then put the female wizard in the Wizards of Morkar box. So then you've got it. Because we haven't really heard much lately about any plans to make the Dwarf Quest pack and the Wizard Quest pack. So people were speculating, well, instead of trying to remake those, Encarmi was pretty upfront about, trying to quash that idea that we would see those. Even though in the past they'd hinted, well, we have everything, we could do it. We have the rights to everything, we could do it. Wouldn't it be nice to get dwarven furniture? That sort of thing. Um, it was kind of presented like, yeah, but there's no nostalgia for it. It was never released. It was never finished. It was never play tested. Why would we want to release something that nobody knows about, nobody's wishing for, and it's broken? What's the point of that? It's just a few historically minded people like myself, Luca Rocks, or no, not Luca Rocks. I was getting confused. Luca Pashi, people like that who have seen the drafts. Amalgamash has seen them. I mean, there's a bunch of people that have seen those drafts. Those people are interested, but it's like we were already looking at the thing that we wanted to see. Like, unless Hasbro has some more stuff locked away that they haven't shown anybody. I mean, I'd like to see the designer drafts for the original game if they still exist. I'd like to see, the rejected concepts. I'd like to see, the old miniature sculpts. I mean, some of that stuff you can find online, like the metal miniatures that they were working on for the original version of Hero Quest, like the Ranger and the Knight and the Chaos Warrior and all that stuff. But I mean, other than a few people wanting to know that stuff, the general public wants a finished product. They want something playable out of the box that they don't have to think too hard about or tweak too much. So I get that. Now, what they could do, and I'm thinking that they're already doing probably, is taking maybe the best elements and coolest ideas from those two packs, those unreleased packs, and sprinkling them into their other products. So the Snow Dasher character from Into the Northlands that they were saying you should use in the Frozen Horror, that was very much, I think, inspired by the Sabretooth Snow Tiger that you find in the Wizard Quest pack as a companion for a hero. So it's like that's an example of them taking something from the cutting room floor, applying it somewhere else. So maybe they'll just do more of that. Maybe we won't get those packs at all. I still hold out hope that they could do a brand new, as long as they're doing a brand new story, brand new pack. I mean, why is Against the Ogre Horde about dwarves? It isn't. Not really. I mean, if they're going to expand it to 10 quests, they have 3 more quests that they could talk about dwarves, I guess. Expand that lore if they wanted to. But wouldn't it be cool to have, a 10 quest pack to do that? Same with the wizard. I mean, they talk about all kinds of other wizards, but where does the wizard come from? What is his land like? What was his training like? Anybody from his past we could meet? Any cool, you know, um, artifacts or maybe powerful magical items that only the wizard can use that he should really save his gold up for? I mean, that would be something neat. So I think it would still be cool if they did that. They don't have to do it word for word. I mean, just like how they were modifying Mage of the Mirror to be a little more complete, a little more finished, ironing out those rough edges, just like how they did Into the Northlands for the Frozen Horror. I mean, maybe they're tasked with a lot of stuff, but I would think it would be easier to work from an outline or a skeleton or some concepts than having to write something completely from scratch to release as a HeroQuest product. So that's my thought on it. I'm sure they've probably already made their decision. It seems like they're very driven by what the fans seem to want. So if the internet is just flooded with people saying, "I want this for HeroQuest. I wanted this for HeroQuest for years." If they can make it happen, they're going to try to make it happen. So I guess be careful what you wish for is my first bit of advice. Uh, but it's also, I think, in good hands because there's people that want opposite things. So there's some people that want HeroQuest to be an extremely complex game. There's some people who want it to be a very hard edged, like mature game, and there's other people who want it to retain its simplicity and it's all ages kind of atmosphere, age 9 and up, family game. There's people who want it to be more like a war game. There's people who want it to be more like an RPG. So can you really make all those people happy? No, not unless you either just make it a sandbox like it is and just let people do whatever they want, or you release different editions, different sets. So maybe you'd have like an RPG rule set, you have a war game rule set, You have like a mature edition for, people who want a grittier, racier, more risque story. You could do that. You could release different components, different rule sets. People have already done this stuff, but if you wanted to monetize it, is it a good idea? Will HeroQuest wear out its welcome? But anyway, so these are some things. So the next thing that he says here, I know I'm drawing it out because I'm adding a lot of my own commentary here. There are plans to release a revised version. Again, these are rumors of the basic game in 2025, which isn't far away. Maybe including new stuff or quests. Dark Company? Question mark. And the revised version is not confirmed for other languages than English. Well, I think I've said this many times before, is that I kind of long for the day when HeroQuest would be so popular and mainstream that it would be like Monopoly. You'd have different editions of it. The only thing is, does that diminish the brand? If you have too many of these goofy game boxes, like a lot of people don't even play them, they just buy it. It's like, oh, it's USopoly. I really love USopoly. I'm going to get that for 4th of July. And they buy it and they never open it. They never play it. It's just a collectible. And some of them are just a new paint job. Other ones actually change the rules. But is it still fun like Monopoly, or is it just something that's just kind of a gimmick and like in a bad way? So if they have a million different versions of HeroQuest, like Game of Thrones HeroQuest, Lord of the Rings HeroQuest, you know, Super Mario HeroQuest, Power Rangers HeroQuest, is it really going to be a good thing or a bad thing? The other thing is, what if they release like a one-time, like this is my dream, is that they do a collaboration with Games Workshop and do like an anniversary version of HeroQuest that has Chaos Warriors and Fimir in it, and is set in the old world and with maybe Games Workshop style Citadel miniatures. Like that would be really, really cool. But I sort of think if they did something like that, it would probably be a one-off. It would probably be like a limited time exclusive kind of thing. And guess what? It's going to sell out super fast. It's going to be scalped and it's going to be really, really annoying. So if they did something like that, it would be best if it were a retail product. And I don't see it as a problem, them having multiple rule sets together. I know some people are really, really afraid. They're like, oh, if we have more than one HeroQuest rule set, that's going to be bad because then people will be confused and won't know which one is better, or they'll be fighting with each other. I think the problem comes in where these companies will create a game that everybody loves and it's around for a long, long time, and then they decide, you know what, we're not making enough money. Let's change it all around and sell it back to everybody. And this will replace the old one, and we'll somehow make it so that you can't enjoy the old one as much. We'll take the books out of print. We'll tell stores who stock our products not to stock them in favor of the new stuff. We'll ban it from tournaments, all that kind of stuff. And so just really kind of rub it in the faces of people who liked the old version, especially if there's controversial decisions. I don't think that's going to happen with HeroQuest just because it's not a competitive game in that way. I mean, you can play HeroQuest anywhere. It's not the type of game where it is geared towards you walking into a store because you have one army and you don't have enough money to make two armies. So somebody else has to bring their army and then you both play. Or you have to customize your deck by opening lots and lots of booster packs that you collected over the years to make the perfect deck. And then you have to play in this tournament and make sure nobody's cheating. So it's not like Magic the Gathering or Warhammer in that way. HeroQuest is, yes, it's true. You have people who say, "Oh, I don't have any friends. It's just me and the companion app." Boo hoo. Well, you can play with your family, play with your next door neighbor. You can invite someone over to your house to play, but you don't necessarily need a community to make it work. I mean, I agree. You have the global HeroQuest community, people communicating their different ideas, sharing what they've got. But if all you had was the game system, you could still enjoy yourself. You wouldn't have to have all that extra stuff. But yes, the company wants to keep making money. And it's not that you have a limited set of customers that you just have to just squeeze every dollar out of them. you can keep expanding. You can go to all the markets that used to have HeroQuest. I mean, it was a global product. It was in like 19 languages, I think, at one point. Maybe at its greatest extent. 18, 19, something like that. So anyway, I guess they have a lot to do, and they have a lot, probably have to keep, they might, for all we know, every day they have to convince their Hasbro overlords that what they're doing is the right thing and let them proceed with their next plan. And they're always playing catch up because they got to send the stuff out. They can't just do, a bunch of day one patches. It's got to be a physical thing. So I wish them luck. But let's continue looking at these different news items because I've already talked for 40 minutes about this. Okay, so this Dungeons of Delthrak. So here's the thing. So it seems rumor one, rumor two about the future release of this new expansion of HeroQuest seem to be true, according to leaks told by Goredia de Morcar. And this is once again our friend Hispazargon. So the jungles of Delthrak. I guess a jungle is kind of one of those stereotypical, fantasy trope kind of things. You've got the dark and stormy night, castle. You've got the evil dungeon. You've got the cursed tomb. You've got the frozen wasteland. You've got the I don't know, the sandy desert. You've got the jungle. It's one of these environments. It's a place where monsters can hide, scary things can happen. You can have interesting scenery. And how would you do that on a board? Well, you just use your imagination, but you could also have tiles. You can have sculpts of plastic to make that seem a little more real. I mean, HeroQuest is big about reusing the same board. You just rearrange the entrances, the exits, the sizes of the rooms. You have those tiles to make custom rooms and things like that. Let's see. So he says, this is Hispazargon interpreting LaGuardia de Gaurida de Morcar. See, I'm going to pronounce it wrong every time. The leak on the retail website seems to have been a Hasbro mistake. The reference of the product is correct, but it was planned to be included in a later catalog of Hasbro products, not now. It'll include a new hero, not confirmed if it could be the druid from Mythic Tier or not. Well, I would say if you're going to release Crypt of Perpetual Darkness, that would be the time to release the druid, right? Because it's a mythic box and there's a mythic hero. Now, if you release the druid separately, what would you put in the box? Sir Ragnar, you could put them all in one box. I mean, there's no rule that says you have to, but if they're following the exact same conventions, it would make sense that it would be the druid. The story will have relation with water and, of course, abominations. An abomination boss mini will be included. It'll include reptilian-like monsters similar to D&D's Yuan-Ti, a kind of lizard men, and also crocodile men. Look, it is planned to be released in other languages at the beginning of 2025. However, it looks like the English version will be released much earlier, as usual. He talks about other leaks and possible things. So let's look at these web pages. So the first one actually was, oh, it's a Google cache. That's weird. Page is actually back. Okay, let's see if it's back here. So this is Board Game Bliss. Page not found. Okay, so they did take it down again. That's weird. Let's see. Jungles of Delthrak. Yeah, I don't see it. Okay, well, I guess we're going with the cached version again. See, I just saw this. Okay, let's go back here. Yeah, because I posted here. So yeah, it was $54.95 Canadian dollars, equivalent to $40.31. And yeah, it made me think of Warhammer Lost Patrol from 2000. So I took snapshots. Well, actually, these were sent to me by Hispazargon. He took pictures. So that was the Google cache. So it gives the SKU number of it, and it's called a pre-order. So there's no actual date for release. Or no, it was quarter 3, 2024. So it returned, but with a price change. It was 41.25. Everything else is the same. So there's the info right there. But that's interesting. It was a snapshot from November 23rd. Yeah, so they took it down again. Huh. Okay, well, anyway, the other one is 401 Games. So Jungles of Delthrak pre-order. Check back soon for more information. Well, 54.95, 10 plus available for pre-order, but no other info. So not a lot to go on there. Yeah, that's still the web cached version. Okay, well anyway, that's that. So the Jungles of Delthrak, again, this is a just like with Rise of the Dread Moon, it's a brand new thing. So other than what he says, it could be anything. We don't know. It's hard to predict something like that. So Wizards of Zargon. So this is what he says. Hispa Zargon says once again, title Wizards of Zargon is just an assumption by now. The title is not fully confirmed yet. So I would rather they just call it Wizards of Morkar. Just like with Against the Ogre Horde, people thought because one page said Ogre Horde, oh, they're just going to change it to Ogre Horde. They're not going to call it Against the Ogre Horde. Why change it? Just keep it. If there's any nostalgia at all, I mean, if this is 99% the same thing that they've just expanded upon, then why not just call it Wizards of Morkar? The problem is, Morkar was the name of the evil wizard player, the evil GM that controls the monsters in the original version of the game, the first and second edition. When it came to North America, it was changed to Zargon. So, are Zargon and Morkar the same person? Well, obviously they are. They're absolutely 100% the same character. In the Japanese version, the evil wizard player character is called Grimdead. Is Grimdead the same character as Morkar and Zargon? Absolutely 100% positively identical, same person. But the thing is, in the remake version, everything's up for grabs. That's what everyone says. They say, well, we don't know if Against the Ogre Horde is really canon until they make it canon, right? They can change stuff. So they could keep it relatively intact, or they could invent their own thing. And so that's why I think at Gen Con in Carmi, Chris Nato was teasing me and the audience about, well, are they the same person? Are they not? Is it an alias? Is it like, something else? So maybe it would seem like such a cop out though. And let's go on. So Hispazargon is saying it'll include a wizard hero miniature for Wizards of Zargon. So again, speculating that maybe that's the female wizard. It'll include a Zargon miniature. Zargon miniature. Okay, so the general public has not gotten a mentor figure. Only the Hazlitt people did. But we're going to get a Zargon miniature? What would that look like? Here's another problem. Um, what this is sort of making us wonder about is, will there be a final battle against Zargon? And if they put that in the quest book, does that mean that you fight him? Like you put the miniature down and say, okay, you're fighting the GM now. You beat him, you killed him, you destroyed him, whatever. So now Hero Quest is over. Or would it be a cop out where, oh, you defeated Zargon, but he comes back to life, like in so many comic books. So he killed the villain, but he comes back to life in the next issue or the next year. They bring him back in a new form. Or is there another evil wizard that just takes his place? Oh, you beat Zargon. Well, now you got to fight Morkar. Oh, you beat Morkar. Now you got to fight Grimdead. You beat Grimdead. Now you got to fight, Bulag or something. Like you just make up a new one. You just keep doing it. And it's silly because it's the same exact thing. He has all the same powers. He might as well be the same guy. A lot of people were saying, "Oh no, it's just, on the one hand, it would be cool to like have the final quest be against this guy, but what if you want to play after that? Can you just Do you have to do the time warp, or do you just say, "Oh, he just came back somehow"? Palpatine returned, or why do you even need that? Why would you need that? So it seems like a gimmick that's designed to shock people. But on the other hand, there's this question of what does Zargon look like? Because when I was growing up, when I was a kid, I thought, and a lot of people that played the North American version thought this, that the GM character, the scary old man with the white beard and the Dracula cape, holding a book, who appears to be commanding the monsters to attack you, on the piece of cardboard that the player who is said to be Zargon has that in front of his face, that's not Zargon, that's Mentor, the good guy that's supposed to be helping you. So he's like warning you, like, oh, watch out for these monsters. And the book in his hand is Lore Tome. Uh, so that was confusing. Now, in the European original, I think the person who made the GM screen did a great job, but it made it look like he was the bad guy, not the good guy. Each of the hero cards in the European version has a picture of who we now know to be Mentor, with the red cape, the white hair. So he's telling you about each hero. I guess that's a little more clear. And officially they've said no, it's definitely Mentor, it's definitely the good guy. And so we never see Zargon. We never see what Zargon looks like. So what does he look like? So if you make a miniature, how are people going to identify that as Zargon? What if he looks really weird and nobody likes the way he looks? They think he looks silly. Is he going to be some tentacle creature? Well, no. According to the story, he's a man. He's a human who was young and then became old and then apparently is kept alive by magic for centuries, just like Mentor. I mean, what is Mentor? Is he human? Is he an elf? Is he something else? But apparently there's humans in the HeroQuest world who can live for centuries magically. So he's probably not a big creature unless they're going to make up some story like maybe he merged with the demons, so that's how he lives forever, or he's like an undead creature like the Witch Lord or something like that. I mean, they could come up with any story. They could retcon it, meaning just outright contradict what came before and say he's something else. But there's been different portrayals, canonical portrayals, if you will, of Zargon in the past. So in the Marvel Winter Special, he looks like Skeletor from the He-Man cartoons, except he's wearing a hood that, you just see these red eyes poking out. And I'm not going to do visual aids for each and every one of these, but you can look them up yourself. In the PC game, the DOS game from 1991, there's a cutscene, and you see two people. You see the familiar wizard that you always see. Well, if that's Mentor, who's the other guy? He's got like a pointed chin and a pointed nose, and he's got like warts on his face, and he's got earrings, and he's got kind of a mean expression, and his skin is kind of purplish. And is that from the light, or is it really that color? Maybe that's Morcar or Zargon. you know, could be that. Then you have the video, the trailer video that was used to promote the remake version during the HasLab campaign, which is still around. You can watch that trailer. You just hear the narrator, not Stephen Baker, but you hear the narrator talking about, Zargon has returned. It's supposed to be Mentor's voice. I think it's the same voice that you hear in the companion app, playing Mentor's voice. You see all these Chaos Warriors or Dread Warriors. You see all these Dread Warriors like in a hall, and then at the front of the room, if you will, the front of the hall, you see a Chaos Warrior kneeling, Dread Warrior kneeling, and it looks like he's pledging his allegiance to some other figure who's standing in front of him with like his arm raised, like the leader, and that leader looks like a black silhouette of a Dread Sorcerer. So it's like the Chaos Warlock is Zargon, or were they trying to say that, oh, Zargon pledged himself to the evil Dread forces, so the kneeling Chaos Warrior is Zargon, and there's some other boss above him. Like you could take it either way. So what is Zargon really? Is he just a wizard, an evil wizard, or is he a guy in armor that has magic, that has a boss above him? Is he Darth Vader or is he the Emperor? Is he Saruman or is he Sauron? You know, if it's Lord of the Rings. So the sticker album portrays the guy in red as Morcar and gives you a previously unseen image of Mentor as like his twin brother, except he's wearing blue robes, hit a white skull cap, and pointed ears, and that's Mentor. But that's just in the sticker album. So which one is it? Is it the Skeletor guy with the hood? Is it the pointy chin, warty faced guy with the angry expression from the computer game? Is it the guy in red from the sticker album? Is the guy in red we thought it was in the North American version before they told us otherwise? So what is it? It would be really funny though if the Zargon miniature they gave us was just the Mentor figure, just in a different color. That would be hilarious. Like if what it was just Mentor, but it was in black. I mean, yes, they could change the symbol because they've in the remake version they've given us these two symbols. They've given us this skull, this like jack o' lantern skull. It's supposed to be Zargon's symbol, and then they've given us an eye within a little pyramid circle, like medallion type thing, which is supposed to be Mentor's symbol. I mean, they could change the symbol on the figure and keep everything the same, but I think it would be great if he was a twin. For me, though, I just always think of the image on the GM screen as Zargon. So let's go right to the source now. We've done all our speculation, half of which is probably wrong, and other people have probably said the same things and more eloquently than I. But let's just watch the video and we'll see what the man actually says. So this is YouTube. Definitely go follow him, rate, comment, subscribe. You can always already see in the sidebar there's some videos, so check out Dungeon Master, Ash Quest. All right, I love his intros, but anyway, we're gonna go through with the subtitles and a little bit extra speed. I may jump around.
Hola, ¿qué tal? Hola, ¿qué pum? Bienvenidos a un nuevo vídeo. Y bueno, es que esto sí, esto va a ser un vídeo así, sin editar. Esto es así unas noticias random aquí en el Morcar Móvil. Y nada, y es que, ¿qué pasa? Ya en los grupos de Telegram y eso, y en Facebook ya seguramente que habréis visto algo y todo, ¿no? Pero me interesa a mí,
Oh yeah, Facebook.
antes de
I
traer
forgot to mention.
alguna
I don't
información a lo
really go on
bestia, ¿vale? Pues
Facebook,
intento hablar con el Insight, ¿vale?
but
Este
I
vídeo
love
va a
it when people
ser
report.
sin corte ni nada, así, tal. He ido a hacer unas cosas y me pongo a hacerlo, ¿vale? Me pongo a hacerlo, he recibido los
Yeah,
mensajes
he
del
usually
Insight.
has a lot of
Y es
higher
que ha
production
salido
values, but
en
sometimes you got to do
una página, este
a
Black Friday se ha
casual
sacado la
video.
chorra. Se ha ido ahí de madre, ¿vale? Y ha salido de repente una filtración de Board Game Bliss, es una tienda, ¿vale? Y salió una
Game
pre-order.
Bliss, yep.
La pre-order de una nueva
The
expansión que es
subtitles fail.
Jungles of del Track. Junglas del Track. He tenido que hablar con el Insight.
His
Y
spy on
bueno,
the
me ha dado
inside,
información,
yeah.
me ha dado información, pero es que ha habido cosas frikis. Yo tengo aquí el audio, ¿vale? Los tengo puesto aquí en casco y os lo voy a
I
decir
like it. It's
todo.
like he's got the spy in
Y
his
así
ear right
no me
now.
dejo detalle, ¿de
That's
acuerdo?
great.
O sea, voy a empezar a
See,
deciros lo que me ha
this
dicho el
guy's a
Insight.
storyteller. I love it.
Hace 15 días han traducido esta expansión con... Vale. Hace 15 días han traducido esta expansión con los
Voucher?
Yuan-Ti, o sea, los
Yeah, that's
Yuan-Ti
probably
estos,
it.
los hombres lagarto de Dungeons and Dragon, con hombres cocodrilo, con abominaciones y con la
Yeah, the Crypt
abominación
of
boss, con una
Perpetual
abominación
Darkness, I mean,
final.
they could
Esta es
just
la
have a
expansión
different
aquella que
sculpt of a
dijimos
dragon
acuática en el
if
último vídeo de
if
rumores.
that's the whole
Pues
deal.
es esta, ¿vale? Va a ser en la jungla, rollo mansiones de la locura, el de la jungla con eso,
Mansions of
pues,
Madness.
con medios serpientes, medios humanos, ¿vale? A ver, sigamos. Sí. Un nuevo héroe y ahora se está descojonando. Vale. Tienen límite para entregar las traducciones hasta el 31 de diciembre. O sea, espérate, ojo.
Dramatic pause.
Vale, y bueno, ahora ya empezaré de esto.
See,
Pues,
I'm just
¿qué es
smiling
eso?
so
Pues que lo
much
tenían,
because yeah,
que aún no habían
we
entregado
just
las
eat
cosas,
this
que tienen
stuff
hasta el
up.
31 para entregar todos los documentos y todo, pero Hasbro ha pasado algo con el número de referencia, que la tienda online tiene la referencia exacta del producto, que no está terminado, que no hay nada terminado.
It's all
Nada
about the
producido, ni
chase. That's
miniaturas,
what it is.
ni troquel, ni libretos,
Yeah, he's getting
y
to
es
the
un
point.
error.
Don't worry.
Vale.
I just wanted you guys to see the context.
Y
I'm not
es
trying
un
to
error
like
de Hasbro
steal his
porque han
thunder.
dado un
Definitely click
catálogo
on
pues
his
del Black
video,
Friday, supongo.
watch it yourself. But if you're
Sí,
not a
sí.
native Spanish speaker, uh, definitely use the subtitles, even though they're not perfect.
Vale, vale. Vale, pues que
All
Hasbro
right.
pues
I'm
la
gonna
ha
just
tenido que
skip
liar,
ahead
que
just
bueno,
a
ahora
little
luego
bit because I
hablaremos
don't
si la ha
want to
liado o no.
look
Vale,
like
si la ha
I'm
liado o
trying to
no,
like
porque
take
justamente
anything
ayer no
away from
estábamos
what
hablando de
he's
la vida de
doing
los
here.
juegos. Em, que hace unos vídeos, pues era la que dijimos expansión de agua, la que daba un poquito. Vale, 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 porque esta expansión se va a presentar el 28 de julio, los ogros, y en octubre, vale, en octubre el anuncio de, lo he dicho bien, octubre, ahora lo vuelvo a decir,
See, I
a
would
ver,
just say like spring and fall. I mean, it's easy to
en enero el
predict.
monje,
They'll
luego
have
tenemos
something
en
in
abril
spring, something in
las dos del
fall.
tier,
That doesn't
julio
account for
28
things
los
like,
ogros,
yeah, the Wonder Monk being in
octubre la
January.
presentación de la cripta
Here we go. Yep.
y una caja especial de los elementos que faltan de la campaña de financiación.
See, I'd be in
Y en
favor of
noviembre del
that.
2024,
Yeah, all the mythic
eh,
stuff should just
el
be released to
anuncio
the
de la
public.
expansión de los
If
hechiceros
they
de
have to
Morcar.
tweak it a
Y
little
ojo,
bit
ojo, ojo,
to
ojo,
not make
con
people
miniatura
angry,
de mago
fine, do that.
alternativa, 3 aventuras individuales, las 5
So
aventuras
it's
que teníamos
logical.
originales
It's
y luego 2 aventuras de
wishful,
más,
but is it true?
con la misión de matar a Zargon con la miniatura incluida, ojo. Y después, 2025,
To kill Zargon. Yeah, but do
otra
you
miniatura
actually
sola,
succeed, or does he get away at the end?
vale, la expansión de la jungla.
Some people have already written that quest.
Y está hablando de que el nombre de la...
There's people who have made
Sabes que no saben si van a
quests
cambiar el nombre, pero creo que
where
se va a
like
quedar así porque en español pues
Zargon
será
and
así.
Morcar are different characters and meet each other, or one succeeds the other.
Además, vale, se está previniendo una tercera edición de Hero Quest. Pero ya ha pasado. Vale, vale, habrá en diferentes lugares en diferentes ediciones, pero en la española por ahora no.
It's that guerrilla
Una tercera edición
reporting
de Hero Quest
style that I
con los
appreciate.
textos mejorados, o sea, con correcciones de rata, supongo, y elementos más. No creo que... A ver si se les va a ir
Also,
la olla, van a
have
hacer
you
un advance,
noticed
ahí
you
van a hacer
gotta have the
un...
facial hair? So like
compañía
Amalgam
tenebrosa a
Ash,
lo
when he's
friki con
doing his
una caja
videos and he shaves, it's like
de Hero Quest
nope.
sistema avanzado.
When you
O
get the
sea,
facial hair back, then you
esto
get
ya
your
es
power
rumoraco,
back.
rumoraco flipada, lo dejamos como rumoraco, ¿vale?
And if you don't have enough of a beard, you get a fake one. That's what you got to do.
Hostia, que este verano próximo
How does that apply
se
to
anunciará eso
female Hero
de la
Quest
caja esta, de la
reporters? I
tercera
don't
edición
know,
esta de la
but
caja. Porque solo tienen 3 meses para producirlo. Yo no sé
maybe a good
cuánto
wig.
faenarán en 3 meses, pero poquito tiempo. Bueno, está también hecho. Después... No, en España aquí que no se sabe. Y ya está, que se va a la cama. Pues eso. A ver, espérate que se
Yeah, it
ríe.
kind of makes me mad that it takes so long for some countries to get this stuff when it's just like just run it through a translator.
Sí,
Why the big
sí.
deal?
Vale, vale,
You
vale.
know, do
Sí,
you have to
sí,
jump
sí.
through a bunch of legal hoops
Que
for it?
bueno, que se ha
Like, I guess
descojonado
that's the
porque piensa
situation in Quebec. Like the
que el
dice, for
lunes
crying out
alguno
loud. You
que
don't
otro
need
va a llegar a
anything
Hasbro
written for the
con miedo,
dice,
porque
and
han
they
metido una
still
vaca guapa, guapa.
couldn't release
Pues
them in Quebec.
esto, mira, ahora
Come
mismo
on.
es eso. Voy con los cascos, lo he podido escuchar todo bien, no he tenido que hacer un resumen de todos los audios y eso. Y bueno, pues mira, es
All
este
right. I
ratito, ¿vale? Que nos
think
hemos
we've
pasado.
gotten pretty
Pues
much to
la
the
jungla
main points. Again, I don't want to
del track.
steal any clicks
Nueva
from him, so he
expansión
can
para el 2026. En
express
teoría, si la
himself
van a
and you
anunciar
can
para el 2025,
go to his
pues 2026, esta
page.
es
If
la
you
que se
think
estaba
my
hablando. Sí
interpretation
que
is
no sé hasta
wrong,
qué
if you
punto
think the
puede
subtitles
ser
are
que me
wrong,
esté
if you think
equivocando y venga antes
we're not giving him
que la de los hechiceros de Zargon. ¿Por qué?
enough credit or
Porque
whatever,
ya lo
you
habéis
can check it
escuchado.
out.
Ya lo habéis...
So anyway, yeah, it kind of brings me back to the videos that myself and Amalgam Ash and a lot of other people did with Rise of the Dread Moon, our speculations, our predictions. We were basing them on things that we'd heard, things that we'd seen from the past. We had no way of knowing what they were really going to do. I mean, if we'd really gone back and said, okay, they're not going to follow past convention, they're just going to reach into the feedback the fans have given over the years and the fan mods that people have made, then we would be looking at that stuff and going, okay, now which stuff did they actually do? Instead, we were looking at, okay, they're going to make the Night Quest pack, and it's going to be just like Mage of the Mirror and Frozen Horror, except it'll be focused on the night. Wasn't at all. And with these things that he's speculating about, of course, the Abomination Quest pack, the Jungles of Delthrak, I mean, so far none of that is confirmed. It's just a title. All we have is a title. a rough release date, and a price point. We don't have any other information confirmed outside of these rumors. But you had a monster that they didn't say much about. It's like, okay, you could have had a quest pack about the orcs, I mean, you kind of already had one about the undead with um, Return of the Witch Lord. You're getting an ogre one. I mean, I guess there's really isn't really any other monster focused, so it's kind of a hard thing to guess. So it seems pretty, I don't know, plausible that it's true. Like if I were going to make something up, if I were just going to make something up, I'd say, yeah, all the mythic stuff is going to come out. But they've kind of been saying that from the beginning. They've kind of been dropping hints from the beginning that that was going to come to pass. Hell or high water, they're going to find a way for all that mythic stuff to come out. So it's not just in the realm of scalpers. You know, you won't have to just get on eBay and pay $1,000 to try to get it or proxy it yourself. Like they'll sell it. So they'll find a way. So if the Joe Manganiello stuff is really coming out, that's great. That's what I would want. But if I were making something up, you know, false rumor, that's what I would say. I would say, oh yeah, the thing that is never going to come out, it's going to come out. I notice he's not saying, and I'm not accusing him of, you know, making stuff up. I'm just saying the source that he has, or the sources that he has, are they reliable? Are they reporting something that they know to be fact, or are they getting it from somewhere, you know, second or third hand? Are they guessing? Are they mixing it with fiction, you know, to throw us off? Who knows? But if I was going to make something up, I'd say, oh yeah, the Guardian Knight's coming back. You know, no one said that. Although there was someone who posted a listing in our HeroQuest fans Discord saying, "Oh, I got the Guardian Knight for $30 or 20. I think it was $21 in US dollars, so it's Australian." But they were pointing out that the listing's been up for a long time, so it's probably not any sign of a re-release. It's just there happened to be a copy out there, and instead of being a jerk and trying to sell it for like $350, they just sold it for just a slight, you know, profit above what it was actually sold for originally, which was $14.99, you know, $15 US. And apparently there was uh, a few copies of The Path of the Wandering Monk released early, like this month. It's supposed to come out January 15th. Came out this month. So Jay Cool on the forums reported that it was on store shelves and he bought a copy. Is he telling the truth? Who knows? But everybody asked him for more info. What info is there to give? I mean, the only thing that I could think of is that do they mention the word metal on the back of the hero card? Because if you look at the promotional materials for the Path of the Wandering Monk that we've seen so far on the Hasbro Pulse and all these review sites, all these preview sites, it says the monk refuses to wear armor. Let's see, let me just read it off because I printed it off myself here. You are the monk, a student of unarmed combat techniques formed in reverence of the elements. You refuse to use armor or shields, instead relying on your heightened grace and agility. You may only wield daggers, crossbows, hand axes, short swords, and staffs. Have they changed that at all? Well, on the Hasbro Pulse page, they show pictures of the cards, and I don't think any of the pictures of the cards mention the word metal, but the text on the page says you refuse to use metal armor or shields. So this whole thing about metal armor was introduced in the remake edition because they're saying a helmet is made of metal. So when you say the bard gets a bonus for not wearing metal armor, that includes not wearing a helmet, not wearing chainmail, plate mail. The only type of non-metal armor that you can wear in the game are bracers, and cloaks don't count as armor, so they're not counted. So why not just say bracers, but instead they want to say non-metal armor or metal armor. Anyway, but several of the bonus heroes have that metal armor caveat. So the rogue can't wear metal armor. The monk refuses to use metal armor. The bard gets a bonus if he doesn't wear metal armor. The druid can't wear metal armor. Now the warlock can't wear any armor that the wizard can't wear. And the wizard just can't wear armor. So the only thing he can use are bracers or cloak. But they never changed the wizard card to say non-metal armor, metal armor, because you start to think, okay, well, what armor can I wear? Can I use a shield? Can I use a helmet? And originally the helmet didn't say metal, but in 2022 they released a tweaked version of the game system with the word metal on the helmet card. And they did the same thing in Rise of the Dreadmoon. They released an extra card, just like they released a hand axe card that said, "Oh, can't be used by the wizard." Well, we knew that, but now it's officially on the card, and so that clued me in. Oh, it's actually been changed all this time. It's just that the people who bought the big box version of the game system didn't know that because it was exactly the same as the Mythic version, which didn't say it. So they've been releasing these little tweaks as time goes on. It all gets kind of confusing, and if you're not a super fan, if you're not a regular player of the game, you're like, who cares? Somebody on the internet told me this thing, and I liked that idea, so I put it in my game. But then you also get people that are like, no, no, you've got to follow the letter of the law written on these cards when you're playing. Okay, so they try to be as careful as they can, putting all the details in there. But it's a sandbox game. You can always do what you want. And they say that every time there's an argument. So the other rumor that was mentioned in Christabel's last rumor video that we looked at, this idea that they're going to be pushing HeroQuest players into the world of Dungeons and Dragons, that somehow they're setting things up to be the end of HeroQuest, that Wizards of Zargon or Wizards of Morkar is going to be the final release, that they've run out of legacy stuff to remake. They don't have the energy or funds or whatever. They don't have the drive to keep creating new content, or they're afraid that it'll dilute the franchise. So instead, what they'll do is they'll say, okay, here's the final thing. You fight Zargon, you kill him, that's the end. As if that would stop anyone from writing their own adventures. It wouldn't. And if people demanded more HeroQuest, they could always say, well, he didn't really die, just like the Witch Lord. They bring him back. Or somebody else just like him takes his place. Well, who cares? It might as well be the same guy. Fine. Zargon wasn't the origin of the evil in the world that he's set in. I mean, he wasn't always there. At one point, he was a student of Mentor. So somebody else was controlling the evil forces, or maybe they weren't united like that. But for the last several centuries, he has been kind of the big bad guy. But he hasn't been waging war on the empire or the kingdom, the realm, this whole time. There was periods of peace. So yeah, there were monsters out there, but it wasn't a big war. You know, I'd like to see them bring back Battle Masters. I'd like to see them bring back Space Crusade. I'd like to see all that stuff. Bring it on. Bring on Space Hulk. Bring on Tyranid Attack, and Lost Patrol, whatever, Blood Bowl, bring it all in. Make people excited about Games Workshop and Milton Bradley, aka Hasbro, working together again. Bring on Advanced Hero Quest. Do it. Give us the Japanese quests. Give us the Dark Company. Give us alternate rule sets. I'd be all for it. But will it be profitable? Will things work in their favor? Who knows? So these rumors are interesting, but I really hope that they don't canonically kill off Zargon. I think that would be silly. It would serve no point. And I think trying to push us into Dungeons and Dragons, I don't think that would work because it's the same company selling the same two products. So unless they're planning to just get rid of HeroQuest, like it's not making enough money, and Dungeons and Dragons is really suffering and they need to like draw people into that, why do that? I think they serve different functions. Dungeons and Dragons is the theater of the mind. It's a storytelling, it's a role-playing game. Yes, I know there have been many attempts to transform Dungeons and Dragons into something else, just taking the world and making it a video game, an action game, a combat game. There have been attempts to translate D&D into more of a HeroQuest game because HeroQuest is the all-in-one box sandbox game that's a simple tabletop fantasy adventure, which is not heavy on role playing. It's more heavy on combat and exploration. but it's more of a board game than it is anything else. More of a board game than an RPG or a war game or a skirmish game or an adventure game or anything like that. Yes, you have more role-playing elements in something like Rise of the Dreadmoon, but still very light compared to something like D&D, which can be very, very complicated, very long, a lot much more emphasis on things like dialogue and like character development and all this stuff. Whereas HeroQuest is more for not just kids, or people who don't have the attention span for a long adventure. It's like maybe you just want it to be simple and you just want to have some fun rolling some dice, and at the end of the evening, you're done. You've had your fun rather than, oh man, I have to commit to this weeks long, months long, years long, journey, and I've got to read all these big thick books and write, these, maps to create it. There's so much more potential, but there's also a lot more homework and busy work. Whereas with HeroQuest, it's much more accessible to people who don't want to do all that other stuff. And yes, it's true, you can do both. You can take HeroQuest and make it into a complicated RPG if you want to. You can take those same figures and tiles and everything and use it with a different rule set, like Advanced HeroQuest or Warhammer Quest or D&D or anything else you want, Pathfinder. You can do that. Just like you can take Pathfinder or D&D or Warhammer and you can simplify it to the point where it plays like HeroQuest. You can do the same thing. So really, at the end of the day, they're just selling you plastic and cardboard. So do I like this plastic and cardboard, or do I like this other plastic and cardboard? And D&D has a much bigger fan base. It's been around longer. HeroQuest was around for maybe like had 5 good years, and then it was gone for 30 years. Whereas D&D started in the 70s, it was pretty small until maybe the early 2000s, and then it kind of exploded after that. I mean, towards the end of the 90s, you had that theatrical movie, or was it 2000? No, it was 2000, I think. Yeah, it was 2000. You had the theatrical movie as a big flop, but you had like arcade games, you had toys, you had the cartoon in the 80s, but it didn't have much to do with anything other than just set in the world. Some kids that got sucked into the world. A Dungeons and Dragons ride. As if there's more than one. Like, oh, and they already know what Dungeons and Dragons is, but it becomes real for them. So D&D became mainstream, and Wizards of the Coast keeps trying to change the game, trying to make it more, I don't know, palatable or more for the masses or more politically correct, or they try to draw in people who are non-fans, like all this stuff. And they got a lot of bad press because it seemed like they were trying to push people into like a digital experience and trying to tightly control it and not let people make mods off of it and just really, draw it together, and it backfired on them. So there's definitely a lot of people who would be, long story short, there's a lot of people who'd be very angry if you tried to do the bait and switch. Say, we'll take away your hero quest and give you Dungeons and Dragons. It's like, listen, bub, look here, bub, I don't want that. And you're not going to push it on me. And it's not going to work. And if you say it's the same universe, I reject it. So you're going to have a lot of that. Plus, like I said, it's two different games. It's like somebody saying, well, let me take away your Double Dragon. I'm going to give you Mortal Kombat. It's like, well, they both involve like fighting, but other than that, they're completely different. Why would I want to do that? Maybe I like this thing better than that other thing. So I think it would be an unpopular decision to do that. If it was like a one-off, like crossover, like a Marvel team up, where some of the D&D characters and some of the HeroQuest characters have a mission together, well, that's fine. Fans have already been doing stuff like this. There's, like I said, there's people that change one game into the other, or people who combine the games. Why not? You get your. I played my first game of HeroScape over Thanksgiving break, and I went to the dollar store, a local dollar store, and they had the Mattel Micro Minis of Kung Fu Panda, and I was like, sweet. And I got an army, a squad of those characters for $5 total, and I put them on my HeroScape hexes, the little plastic tiles, and they're just the right size. And I looked online, and there was some Shaolin monks rules for stats for Shaolin monks, and I applied those to those characters, and it was fine. So it was really easy to expand it, even though HeroScape is out of print. You can't buy it. Renegade Studios is still working on their remake version, which I don't know when that's coming out. Next year, maybe 2 years from now. Who's to say? I haven't seen any updates. But if with a little imagination, you can do that. And I mean, the Mattel Micro Minis, I just bring those up because they're pre-painted, they're about the right size. They also sell these metal, not at the dollar stores, but these metal miniatures. I think they're called nanos, but they're like painted in like enamel paints. So there's like DC superheroes, Marvel superheroes. Well, HeroScape had Marvel and stuff like that. So I mean, they're pre-painted. So you could get miniatures proxies very easily if you wanted to. You don't have to like 3D print them or anything like that. So I think the sky's the limit as far as HeroQuest goes. And if these rumors are true, it's cool. I don't know if I like the idea of Zargon getting killed in one of the adventures, whether that's a hard stop or a fake out or a swerve or whatever. I don't know if I like the idea of them trying to cram the wizard and dwarf stuff into Against the Ogre Horde and Wizards of Morkar. But at the same time, it would kind of make sense if there isn't enough material to actually make a good quality expansion on its own for that stuff, just kind of putting it in wherever they can. Okay, fine. But I mean, one's 5 quests, one's 7 quests. Can you really tell a story in that many quests? I don't know. As far as the Jungles of Delthrak, I mean, sure, why not? We don't know anything else about it. Just because we know the setting doesn't mean we know how good the quests are, how much fun they are, how challenging they are, how interesting the figures are in the box. Could be anything. There's just not much for us to go on. So that's what I have to say about that. I went on longer than I planned. Could have been a nice short video, but cheers. Shout out to Cristobal, Lagoradia de Morcar. Shout out to Hispazargon. Shout out to all the people that posted stuff. I mean, way too many to mention. Usually I try to thank everybody, but Sika Sham, Learlek, all the people in HeroQuest Fans Discord, all the people on Reddit, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter X, Yielden, Amalgamash, Always Bored Never Boring, Dungeon Master, all the people in YouTube. Just there's too many people. So they all got there ahead of me, and I'm really proud of them for reporting all this stuff. Um, it just shows that the community comes together. So that was my little take on things. By the time I get all this out, I mean, other things may have changed. There may have been new developments. Thankfully, I can post this right up on YouTube because this wasn't a live stream. Don't have to wait 24 to 48 hours to put it up. But yeah, we will be back streaming this weekend. That's the plan. So I hope you'll join us in HeroQuest Fans on Discord. Let me put up the Discord title so you can see that on Twitch. So there it is, the bottom of the screen, discord.gg/2 uppercase R9 lowercase p uppercase e uppercase p 4 lowercase c lowercase t lowercase y. That's Quest Talk voice channel inside the Discord when we're live on Twitch. It's twitch.tv/HeroQuestFans. On YouTube, all you have to do is look up XSC3, home of HeroQuest Fans, or just HeroQuest Fans, like all one word run together, HeroQuest Fans. You'll find us just like the Rantcast podcast archive, and you'll find the Rantcast podcast. The Rantcast is coming back. I'm not sure if we're going to do a show this Thursday. I got to see what Strange Bus is doing. I know we've taken a break from there. We took a whole month off of our regular streams, but we will be back. I'm excited. I've got time. I do have the Spirit Queen's Torment and Prophecy of Telor. Maybe some people wondered if I was going to buy those or not. I did. I bought them. I thought I was going to be fancy because people were saying it was coming out early. Turns out, nope, didn't get it early. Just got it on the release date. That's fine. Didn't pay any extra. They're still sealed in the box. I've just been too tired. I've been too busy to really do an unboxing. And really, I'm kind of thinking, well, do I really need to do an unboxing video? I mean, I'll probably record it just for fun. But I mean, we know everything about it. We know that they made those changes. Um, they revised some things, but mostly it's the same. Although they did remove the reference to the gods from Spirit Queen's Torment, which I mean, I kind of didn't think, wow, is that really what they did? But I mean, on the other hand, it's like, okay, does it really fit with HeroQuest? Yeah, it could. We don't know what the elves believe. We don't know what individual characters, what their religious beliefs are. It could fit, but they decided they didn't want that, so they took it out. So is that betraying like the author's vision for that? I mean, if you know about the original version, you could always just say, well, that's what he intended. Did Teos Abadia have anything to say about it, one way or the other? I don't know. But what other little changes could there be that maybe we've missed? I don't know. But since I haven't actually played those quests, I can't really say. I don't know them like the back of my hand. But it seems like they're improved. And as far as the color of the miniatures, I'm kind of on the fence about it. But I have the originals in the solid colors, the opaque green, white, and gray. So I guess I don't have much to complain about. But I'm glad that they're available for the public because a lot of people did want those. And so if this rumor about COPD, Crypto Perpetual Darkness, is true, great to hear. Even if it's a different dragon sculpt, even if they're all different colors, weird colors like that, that's fine. A revised version of the quest book. I think that I think it is to Joe Manganiello's credit that people want his stuff, even though at the time of the HasLab campaign they didn't earn enough money, they didn't pledge enough money to actually unlock those, and yet he still got it made. So I mean, he did everybody a service by putting out there, and I think it's a credit to him and his design that people still want his stuff. So if it turns out to be true, I think that's great. And I think that's one less thing that the scalpers will be able to just charge incredible amounts of money for, because to the average person, it's like, well, I can just buy that in the store. Why would I pay, 5 times the price on eBay? I can just buy it at the store. And actually, it kind of looks cooler. Like everybody's talking about the one at the store. Let me just buy that one for regular price. And so that's a good thing. I don't like to see people get ripped off like that. It just seems greedy. So I don't think there's anything really new. Otherwise, I've said enough, and it's cold and dry, so I'm kind of losing my voice a little bit, just like the old days. But thanks for checking us out on HeroQuest fans. I guess I've missed talking to you all, but I will be back, if nothing else, Friday afternoon on Twitch. So check us out then. Take care, everybody.